Hey everyone! Welcome back to the Above the Yellow Line live stream. Another Thursday night, hanging out with us, the ATYL crew. I guess the ATYL duo got Dom Joseph
Yeah,
here today. So in the
hello.
Home Depot hat,
Yes,
love it.
and
Yeah,
what's left of a Home Depot car next to me.
yeah.
But yes,
You're
it's a
on
new
brand today.
apartment, so I'm moving things around. So I figured I could play a little bit with a nice background. So this is going to
I
be
love it.
short-lived behind me, but yeah, I figured I'd have fun with it today.
Hey, it's a good start. I really appreciate that. And I mean, we got the background. I gotta fix the background behind me too. I need to update it because you just gave me like what 8 diecast that I need to somehow
I
fit into
gave
this
you all,
collection.
that's for sure. Listen,
So,
it's very well documented what happened in the tents in the last 2 years at Charlotte
oh
Motor
yeah.
Speedway. I lose my way a lot, and May's just around the corner, and it's all going to happen again. But it's an annual
Yeah.
pilgrimage to go get things that I love briefly, and then realize I don't have the room for any of this.
Yeah, so it's all gonna happen all over again. I know I'm gonna buy things I don't need to buy. We all need to save money at this point. But
there's
regardless,
a
glad to
there's a
have you all
certain
here.
race team and a certain race car that was unveiled that's going to make you lose a lot of
Oh
money.
no. We're gonna talk about that later in the show because
Oh
I
yeah.
saw the merch for that and I lost it. I literally texted our group chat and I was like, you guys, I'm screaming, crying, throwing up. This is yeah. So very excited. Good to see you all in the chat. Trucker Dan, hello. Good to see everybody, Alex. Nice. Hi. Awesome. John Jensen, as always, good to see you. Uh, let's get started just right off the bat because there's a lot of news to talk about. I'll give you a rundown so you know what we're going to talk about today, and we'll add on to it if you guys have any other conversation points. IndyCar. We're going to have a little bit of an IndyCar rant tonight. We typically don't talk about IndyCar on the show. I watch every single race I have since last season, so I'm a little newer to it. Dom's been following IndyCar a lot longer than I have, but based on everything that's just happened, I feel like we can talk about it from our perspective, mainly talking from a NASCAR perspective, but still, lots of crazy stuff happened there. The Hall of Fame ballot came out for 2025. The All-Star race format also came out. So we'll talk about that, what that looks like. Watkins Glen added some things to the track. Speaking to the guy that runs helps run the Watkins Glen socials, I think that would be a fun conversation. And obviously a throwback scheme that was unveiled that we're very excited about. And then previewing Dover, obviously, so you all know going into the weekend, maybe what your fantasy lineup should look like, etc. And obviously, if you guys have any other conversation points you want to talk about that were not what I mentioned, use hashtag ATYL just so I can spot it in the comments and we can go for that. But let's look at our point situation following Talladega. I'm still in the lead. Nothing changed there. Dom, you're still in fourth, so nothing changed there. The only thing that changed is there's a swap between Toby and Rob, I think was the only change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Ben gained 10 points, so he's closing in on that gap. But yeah, so anyone who cares to follow that, that's how things are going right now. Yeah, I've done really well this year. Not to brag about myself, but I've done really well. So that's
Stats
it. That's all.
stats aren't helping at all right now for me.
The stats really,
It's
there's some weeks where they do, but with Talladega, I mean, I can't fault you for Talladega. That race is wild.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
shocked that I haven't gotten at least one win off the numbers this year. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. I truly think when we look at the numbers for Dover that things will change. I really do. I like the stats that you pulled for this race. So um, fingers crossed. Cody, hello. Thanks for tuning in. Let's look at let's look at the point situation following Talladega. Then we'll get into the storyline. The big storyline here was, the fuel saving aspect of things. I got to talk to Anthony Alfredo this week. If you have not watched that interview, go watch it. But we talked about from his perspective, from racing full time in the Xfinity series to racing in the Cup series, how different that actually was. And he said I had to adjust basically on the fly because they had no practice. And it's a big deal right now, and it's trying to figure out how do we combat that. Everybody has their opinions on how we fix the issue. But of course, getting the win this weekend, Tyler Reddick, are you surprised about this win? I mean, I kind of was, Dom. I don't know. It
I
didn't
think,
surprise me, but then it did.
well, number one, Tyler Reddick isn't much of a super speedway racer. When I think about super speedway, I don't think of him being a prominent guy there. I know he won his duel at Daytona earlier this year.
Mhm.
But his first career win in Xfinity was at Daytona, but I think that was his last super speedway win. I could be wrong. I don't have the stats in front of me. But yeah, actually, now that I think about it, his first truck win was also at Daytona. But regardless,
Okay, well,
he's not he really hasn't been up there contending for wins in Cup. And the way things ended for the Toyota Racing Development train, I didn't expect them
yeah,
to actually make it work and win. But again, this is one of those, it's Talladega, where he won because the seas parted in front of him. So
yeah,
it is a bit of an upset victory because it was down to Keselowski and McDowell. And I think everyone who's been watching super speedway racing in the last handful of years knows whoever's first, second, and third on the last lap aren't going to see the checkered flag. So I guess Reddick was in the best position.
yeah. I mean, Reddick was in a great position. I mean, we all know it seemed like a Ford was going to win. I mean, you had Michael McDowell, Brad Keselowski, and even Noah Gragson up there. And obviously, Keselowski finished second, Gragson third. So still a good day for them, but not the win that I think we need from Ford at this point in the season. I know we're getting into not even midway of the season, not even that, but like we're plugging along, and still Ford is winless, which is pretty insane.
In all three
But
series.
in all three series too, which again, I mentioned this last week, but they're coming off of sweeping the championship, Ford is. And now we're not winning, which is crazy to me. But just the way things work out, on the last lap, there's always that scramble. Somebody makes a gutsy move that typically does not work out. And Tyler Reddick was just there to capture that opportunity. So
And
yeah.
I'll say this about TRD. What I've
Yeah.
seen so far this year, especially, I mean, you could say this about Chevrolet too, but Chevy's good all across the board every year in NASCAR because
Right.
they've always been good in NASCAR. They've never had a bad year. I mean, you could say the late 2010s when Hendrick wasn't at their best, but still they were still winning races. But what I've seen out of TRD this year is after 2 years of Penske and Ford coming in and
Yeah.
winning the championship and kind of, you could argue, just sneaking in and stealing the title. The way they're running right now is they are sick of giving up titles. And
Yes.
you could see
100%.
you could just see how angry they are and how bad they want to dominate. And that's what they're doing right now. And for how good Hendrick Motorsports is this year, JGR is right there next to them. They're not nipping at their heels. They are drag racing them right now. So they're right next to them, and they're going win for win right now, which is kind of cool to see. I know a lot of people want to see more parity. They don't want it to be F1 where it's one team versus another team if you're lucky. But it is cool to see JGR really taking the fight to Hendrick and saying, we are not losing again.
And I can appreciate that we don't have one team that's absolutely dominating the sport. Obviously, Hendrick Motorsports, there are certain weekends like Martinsville, for instance, where like if Hendrick Motorsports does not win this, something's wrong. I mean, I think going into that, at least for me, I was like, they have to win this race. It's a given. History aside, though, they've been solid every single track. And I think the same goes for Joe Gibbs Racing. Again, with Hendrick Motorsports, maybe not every car, maybe not every driver is suited for a certain track, and they're going to have an off week. Same thing with Joe Gibbs. But again, like you said, they are neck and neck in terms of performance. And that's, for me, that's such a big positive. So there's always a mix up. And then especially going into Darlington, I would say it favors Hendrick Motorsports, in my opinion, just based on what I've seen the past few years. But also Joe Gibbs Racing is right there with them. So very excited to look at the stats later on. But the point situation, again, if you want to take one last look at it, obviously, you have those 7 drivers that have won so far. Again, William Byron, Denny Hamlin having the most wins this season. It kind of goes across the board too. Joey Logano, again, he's fluctuating like around that cutoff line still. Brad Keselowski is now just kind of hanging on above that cutoff line. So some interesting things here. Again, Zane Smith still at the bottom there. I don't think we need to go into that any farther, etc. Yeah, I did want to mention this now, since we are still on the topic of Talladega, about Eric Jones. So we all know with that Toyota train, Eric Jones, John Hunter Nemechek, a few other Toyota drivers were involved in a wreck. And if you listen to the in-car radio, personally, if you haven't listened to it, don't listen to it. It is quite grueling to listen to Eric Jones' reaction, but he injured his back. And then he went to the infield care center. They released him. He went back due to pain, and they sent him to a local hospital. So After further evaluation, Eric Jones was diagnosed, I will say, with a compression fracture that leaves him out for Dover. Corey Heim will fill in. If you guys remember, he was signed on as a backup driver for Legacy Motor Club and 2311 Racing at the beginning of this season. There's no timeline on Eric Jones' return, but we do wish him the best. That is a scary scenario. He did release a video on social media just kind of saying how he is and things like that, but we wish him nothing but the best in his recovery. Again, no timeline on that, but thought I would mention that now. Just so you all are aware in case you didn't know. Anything else about Talladega that you wanted to talk about? I know the fuel safe situation. I don't know if we want to dive into that. I know that's been, I don't want to say it's been an overdone topic this week, but I don't know if you have anything you want to say your piece around it.
Yeah, I mean, I have no thoughts on the fuel saving thing at the stages, but that'll never happen. But
nope.
You know, that would be the easy fix to that. But you know, it's a race that has a different strategy to it. And yeah, it's a fuel mileage race at a super speedway. I get it. Everyone's not pushing as hard as they can. But even then, wouldn't you rather them make sure they save their stuff, and then when everyone gets their last run of fuel, then they can go all out to the finish? So at least you've got everybody there in position for the battle, rather than have 18 cars that have decent pieces left, rather than 7 cars completely destroyed, and that's all we've got left to race. So it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. It's a fuel mileage race. And again, the easy fix would be no stages, but that won't happen.
We've seen what happens. I mean, again, road course racing versus super speedway racing, very different, but we've already seen a result of what happens when we get rid of stages. People don't like it. I don't know. There's not going to be a scenario where everybody's able to win, but there needs to be a solution. But that's not our job to figure out. We're just media, you know. We're not the engineers. We don't do this stuff. So, I did want to get to one comment. I think this is really interesting to ponder. First off, longtime friend of the show, NASCAR Taco Bell Cup Series. Good to see you again, by the way.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's been so long. NASCAR Taco Bell Cup Series does ask, when do we think Ford will win a race in each series this year, and who ends up being the winner? I mean, that's a lot of specifics. I can just say, at least for the Cup Series, I'm trying. Let me pull up the schedule real quick because this will help me determine.
Off the top of my head, I can only think of one track, and it's MIS.
I was going to say Michigan was the one.
I think that's the one thing I got hope, honestly. Like,
yeah, Michigan has to be a for sure. And then maybe the 600 again. I mean, Ryan Blaney won it last year. He pretty much dominated that race. So there's a potential, maybe.
I mean, even then, they were better last year everywhere. I honestly think right now I can only truthfully see them winning MIS. I think wherever else they win, it will have to be a good luck day.
Yeah, I mean, because Kansas for me, like, I mean, we'll talk about Dover.
Toyota's not losing.
Yeah, Toyota's not losing that. Darlington is probably going to be Chevy, in my opinion. I think that would maybe be more Chevy.
Makes a good point. Joey Logano won the inaugural race at Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, but even that, it's like, I still don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Especially last year too, because it really seems like, I mean, Kyle Busch got pole last year and had the car.
Yes.
So it's very easy to just, whoever shows up with the best car is going to win that race, and I still don't see Ford doing it.
I don't either. No, so I think you're right. I think the first chance they have is the 600. But I think that's even a stretch too. So it might honestly be in August.
the last couple years, the 600 has kind of been an equalizer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't know. It is like, it's a long enough race that it could fall into their lap. That's what I'll.
Yeah.
It's in the 600, so it's long enough it could fall in their lap. Maybe they just needed that extra 100 miles.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, we'll see. I hope it's earlier than Michigan.
That's it.
I mean, I was going to say qualifying, Ford has speed. It's when they're in the draft, they just don't have it, period.
They don't have long run speed is the problem. They don't have the long run speed. They get butchered on that.
Ford will get it. They'll turn it around. Again, they had a really rough start to last season, and it wasn't until the 600 that they picked it up. So
Team Penske has not lost a NASCAR Cup in the next gen era.
They are
still the team to beat. They are still the team to beat.
And Dom, it's an even number year. So we at least know that Joey Logano is going to make the championship 4, regardless of how awful his season's been so far.
With this system, all he's got to do is make it to Phoenix, and he'll win Phoenix, and that's it. One win, champion.
There
so
you
simple.
go.
Ask Brian Grafton.
Yep.
And Daniel Hemrick.
Oh, you're not wrong, though. Yeah, Daniel Hemrick is a great example. Oh my God. All right. So we were going to start by talking about IndyCar, but there is a lighter piece of news I wanted to talk about first. Remember Joey Gase, how he threw his bumper? This was at Richmond, right? Yeah?
Richmond Raceway, yeah.
So in case you guys weren't aware, you can actually buy this bumper. It's being sold on eBay right now by Joey, I believe. Race Day Authentics, actually. And right now the price is at $1,550. 25 bids. It ends in 3 days. Almost 4 days, but more like 3 days. So if you want to see that listing and you're like, I can totally spend like $1,600 on a bumper, go for it. Look it up. We have the link on tobychristie.com, by the way, with the article. So
that's funny.
Go for it. Oh no, I'm good. We're fine. My camera's just not great, but it's cool. Okay.
You hit a button, didn't you?
No, I messed with the wire and it just turned off.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, this is technology. We're doing great. We have a great setup going on. But now it's time to get opinionated. All right. So IndyCar, for y'all that love NASCAR, we need to send some love to IndyCar. They're not having the greatest time right now. And let's get into this.
Condolences to IndyCar.
Yeah, we need to offer our condolences to IndyCar. And I say this out of respect because I will say I love that series. I think it has some of the best racing ever. They just don't have the best luck. They don't have the best marketing. They don't have the best whatever. They need to be better. But what was this? 46 days after the race at St. Pete. Is that the right number of days? Somewhere in there?
About 40. It was definitely over 40 days.
Definitely over 40 days. IndyCar has announced penalties for Team Penske, including disqualifications for Joseph Newgarden, who was the winner at St. Pete, Scott McLaughlin, and a 10-point penalty for Will Power. All 3 entries were also fined $25,000 and will forfeit all prize money associated with the race, according to an article from IndyCar. I'm going to pull up a press release. If you can't read it all, I am so sorry, but at least I tried. This, or at least as a statement, I should say, from Team Penske. Basically, it has the issue right here. Unfortunately, the push-to-patch software was not removed as it should have been following some hybrid testing that Penske did in their Indy cars. The software was deployed by 2 of their drivers, which is why they got more harsher penalties, Newgarden and McLaughlin, on restarts, and that's not allowed. Will Power did not utilize that quote-unquote advantage, I'm going to say. They all did release statements that I will show after this that said they weren't really aware of this at all. But IndyCar was kind of tipped off on this issue at Long Beach as teams were practicing, and that's where this all was discovered. So, pretty interesting. This was a comment from Tim Cindric. I should specify that. What else am I missing from this? I think that's it, at least about this. And then also I'll put on the screen for you all here. Maybe you can't read that as well. No, you probably can. This is the statement on the left of your screen, I think, is Scott McLaughlin's, and then on the right is the one from Will Power. Joseph Newgarden has not released a statement. I don't blame him. But that means because of that, Will Power has his first IndyCar win from this.
Oh, Paddle Award?
Paddle Award, sorry, Paddle Award, excuse me, Paddle Award.
He's won before. It's his first win of the year.
First one of the year, sorry. First one of the year. There we go. So I was like, all right. But yeah, first one of the year for him, 46-ish days after the race. So what do we want to say about this?
Yeah, it's hard because it's so hard because it's like, well, they did cheat. They got caught. But it's over a month after the race happened. So, like, it's so easy for me to reference Abu Dhabi for F1.
Oh, God.
It's pretty obvious what happened there, but they still live with the outcome of that race as it was. And it's just so hard because, I think Adam had a great point in our chat, which is that history will remember Joseph Newgarden dominating the race, Joseph Newgarden crossing the finish line with the checkers above him, Joseph Newgarden hoisting the trophy in victory lane, but
Mhm.
the record books will say Pato Award, and everyone will start
That
questioning
hurts.
what happened.
Yeah.
So it's like Chase Elliott at Pocono in 2022. I mean, Denny
Yeah. Denny
he won the
Hamlin.
race, did all the victory celebration stuff, went home and found out the next day he was not the winner. So at least that was in a
The day
24-hour
after.
window. Good grief, over a month. And it's like, it's so funny too, for people that don't know, Roger Penske owns IndyCar. Roger Penske owns the IndyCar series.
James makes a
Uh,
good point here, I think.
so that's what just makes it even funnier. And yeah, they're not like, it's just, especially for me, I
It's
don't
a
know why it
wreck.
is for this year. Like, it's just been so hard to watch to get into IndyCar this year. It like the St. Petersburg race was good. I love
It
the
was
IndyCars. Don't get me wrong. They're,
it was
they're
great racing.
they're amazing cars to watch. They sound amazing. They are so hard to drive. So you see how hard those guys are fighting with the wheel because they don't have power steering. So they are muscling those cars around that track. They're very much on top of each other. But yeah, a club race that wasn't a points race, and
Oh,
it was at
God.
a private racetrack. It's just
And it
so
wasn't
it
even
was
for $1 million like was advertised.
yeah, and the
Like, the winner
track
got
was
500,000.
so long. The track was
Yeah.
so like they got so strung out, and yeah, it's just I don't know, but then again, like
Yeah.
it's in their name. They only care about one race, and it's Indianapolis. It's like
Yeah.
I love the Coca-Cola 600. I love the
Yes.
Monaco Grand Prix, but Memorial Day is Indy 500 day. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who you root for, what your favorite racing sport is. It's Indy 500 day, and I respect that fully. But it's just hard to get into right now, and it's kind of a
Yeah.
shame because they deserve the attention, but they just keep shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and Alex and Zach from GRP definitely could talk a lot about this as well. We've had them on the show before talking about IndyCar, and they actually had a special episode. They usually record like once a week, and they did a whole special episode about this in particular.
Yeah,
And just they shoot themselves in the foot every time, and it sucks. And a lot of the time, we blame the schedule for IndyCar. They have so long between races. Like the amount of comments I saw in particular with Long Beach, people had no clue there was a race happening this past weekend. That's a huge, especially people in motorsports that don't know that there's an IndyCar race. That's a huge issue when your
I
core
bet people
audience,
don't know that they
motorsports
race
fans,
this
don't
weekend.
know.
I bet people
Yeah,
don't know they race this weekend.
exactly.
And it's like
So it's
people will say, "Oh, it's in Birmingham, Alabama." It's like watch the race. Barber is a great
yeah,
track, so it's like
yeah,
they're not going to the most glamorous places like F1 for an open wheel racing series, but
exactly.
the racetracks are good and the racing's
I've
good.
seen I've seen IndyCar described. I saw this on Twitter, I think 2 weeks ago. I forget who posted it, but IndyCar is grassroots Formula One, and I was just like,
That's pretty accurate.
I
Yeah.
was like, I love that description. Again, I'm saying this from a place of love for IndyCar. I'm newer to it via last year. I went to my first race last year, and I adore it. I adore the drivers, the personalities. I think it is super competitive. It's just things aren't aligning. And again, the TV ratings, I think to start the season are like down. They're down altogether. The opening race is down 18% from last year. So I don't know. I mean, they're trying to do things like getting their 100 Days to Indy on what Netflix, or they're trying the similar things that NASCAR Formula One has done, but it's not sticking. And I don't know why it's not. I mean, other than you got to expand your audience a little bit more than
Mhm.
just motorsports fan. You have to start branching out. Do what NASCAR did. Go to Chicago, the Chicago Street Race. Bring the sport to people that otherwise probably wouldn't watch it. Now we have more fans. Like there are solutions that I don't think are being explored in terms of marketing and just in terms of broadening their horizons a little bit. And I think I will say,
And I
Dom, you had a
think
really good point. The Indy 500 is so attached to IndyCar. People only know that and that's it. You have to
yeah.
detach if you want to succeed.
And like with 100 Days to Indy, which is awesome. It's a very, very cool series because it does highlight just the magnitude of what one race can do to a person, to a team. Um,
Yeah,
but the Indianapolis 500 is always going to sell. It doesn't matter.
exactly.
that could be the only race of the year. It's always going to sell. So I think highlighting the other races and just thinking too, like, yeah, Nashville Grand Prix, and they're going to Nashville Super Speedway now.
Yeah.
They did it twice, and they're not going back. So I just think it's a shame that this is happening to IndyCar, because
Yeah.
it is pretty special. And like,
Yeah.
I even think too, like, growing up, seeing a couple races here and there, and I put on a race and they're at Sonoma. I was like, oh, this is the championship race. I didn't even know that we're finishing the season.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like last year, I was like, when does the season end? And it's like, oh, it ended last week. I'm like, what? What do you mean? And so like then I went back and I watched it. Like I think when it got to maybe September, like I kind of was like, what's happening with IndyCar? Like, of course, I watched the entire season, but I would watch a lot of it delayed because I still wasn't up to date on like the schedule and what was happening. Let me see who. Oh, yeah, John made a good point. IndyCar is introducing a new part of their inspection. They're going to inspect the push the pass following the races now and everything like that. But it is crazy that you found this that many days later and now you're issuing a penalty. That is a huge oversight. Obviously, things get missed. I understand that. But this many days after, it's insane. So,
Oh,
yeah.
well.
I guess you learn and you move on. Every sport, every organization, every whatever has a flub. Everyone has maybe something big that happens and they're like, oh, we have to come out and make a statement, whatever. Like that's with any big organization, right? This is one of IndyCar's, I think, many this season of those issues. Somebody even mentioned too, like IndyCar's pulling the Formula One method of bad press to get attention and get into the public eye or whatever. Like obviously, no, IndyCar's not wanting to do that, but it's eerily similar to Formula One having so many issues and now everyone's talking about it. We don't want that for IndyCar, but people are talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we got onto all the comments that we wanted to get to about that too. Oh yeah, and I will say, like, I'm a Penske fan. I will say, I see James' comment here. It's just things just gotta work. So no, I just saw this.
Yeah.
That's right. See, and NASCAR has our PR crises as well. Like we do, like the whole restart situation, the pylon situation, which I do want to talk about slightly. I know it's becoming an issue. I understand that, but we speak for the fans here. So got to talk about that just a little bit. It wasn't in the original plans, but why not? Let's add it in. Anyway, so that's their whole conversation on IndyCar. We'll move on and jump into more of our wheelhouse with NASCAR here. With the Hall of Fame ballot, let's talk about that. So there were some new names added to the ballot this year. Greg Biffle, Randy Dorton to the modern era ballot. Let's see. Am I missing somebody that was added? I feel like.
I know AJ Foyt and Sam Ard were subtracted.
That was a big thing for me. AJ Foyt being subtracted from the ballot. That was like, ooh.
Why is that? I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
I feel like he's always been somebody I've gone back and forth on whether he should be in the Hall of Fame or not, based on his accolades and things like that. I remember last year, we all knew that, like, Jimmy, Chad, like, we kind of knew from the get-go who was going to be in the Hall of Fame last year, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's always been one that I'm kind of been surprised didn't make it, or probably won't make it. I don't know. But then I'm also like, well, maybe not. He just seems like with his history, he should.
He's an incredible race car driver in whatever he gets in, but
right.
I just think he's a Daytona 500 champion, but never ran full time in NASCAR.
That's the problem, though. I think for motorsports as a whole, he's made an impact on motorsports as a whole, and that's where I see him maybe being in the Hall of Fame. But when it comes to NASCAR itself,
give him the landmark award,
right?
So
that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think, while he is one of the most incredible, most well-known names in racing, I don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, Ben makes a good point here. Foyt finished second to McGriff in 2022 and seemed like there might have been momentum brewing regardless of whether or not you think he belongs. At least continue to give the voters the option. No, that's fair.
I thought it was fair, but I also know that Hawker said he voted for him last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And also he's pushing 90, so if you're gonna put him in, you better do it soon. That's fair. I mean, I think the thing is, like, we have a certain number of names on the ballot, and then we rotate them out just to give people options. Because if we were to keep names on the ballot all the time, we would have a huge list, right? So, like, I get it, but I'm also like, the option's not bad. For the Pioneer ballot, Ray Hendrick is new, Larry Phillips is new. And then the Landmark Award, excuse me, Dean Sickling, he is the safer barrier inventor. So cool to see him on the list. I feel like deserved.
I think that's a pretty easy vote.
That's a very easy vote, in my opinion.
John brings it up. Jack Sprague was the other modern day.
Jack Sprague, thank you. I was like, I had a list. Yep, there we go.
And that's a good one. Yeah. I think
it's a great one.
I think he was incredible in the truck series. Raced a bit in Busch Grand National and I believe the Cup Series as well. But
I hate
he
this
was very good in the truck series.
Part of me agrees with that. Ricky Rubin.
Yeah, Ricky. I think the one thing that could put Ricky in is the record that I think that the career starts and then kind of the tirade that Kyle Busch is on right now. How many years consecutively he got one win?
That's true.
So I think that could put him in way down the line, but I don't think anytime soon.
But not right now. Also, Ben, I actually didn't notice this, so that's actually a good point as well. Phillips got moved from the modern era to the Pioneer ballot. I wonder if that's just to make room in the modern era ballot. We're not in charge. We don't know. But that is interesting to point out. That's something I didn't process.
You're trying to get voted into the Hall of Fame regardless. Doesn't really matter what era you're in.
So it's interesting. Yeah. But part of me hopes Neil Bonnet makes it in this year. Like, I know he probably won't, but I think Greg Biffle's a fun addition to this list,
too. He's got the numbers either for it, though.
I don't know. Quite honestly, do we feel like anyone in the modern era ballot has the numbers?
Jack Sprague.
That's fair.
I would give Jack Sprague consideration.
Easy.
I don't know if Burton is one that we need to wait on for a while because when he came onto the scene with Roush, he got his first win in 97 at Texas. And right now I'm watching the 99 season and he is lighting it up in 99. So when he was with Roush in the early going, he was very good. But I just don't know with him either. And then, I mean, I get it with Carl Edwards. He was the Busch Grand National champion in 2007.
I don't think he'll ever make it in.
Well, he's got 28 wins though. So
I know
that's a good amount. If you're
it's a good amount.
If you're over 24, it's a good number. But like Kyle Petty said, he's like pretty much the two easiest qualifications to be inducted into the Hall of Fame: Daytona 500 champion, NASCAR Cup champion. Which there's your argument for AJ Foyt, but if that's the case, Trevor Bayne belongs in the Hall of Fame. But I just think we should wait on Carl a little bit.
So I would like for him to get in. I just
let his legacy keep growing.
Right.
Let his legacy keep growing.
Yep. So, interesting on the ballot this year. So we'll see. It's always fun to see people would vote for him. James.
What did James? The love since he retired early. I think honestly, no. It's honestly, it is the lack of a championship that's going to keep him. That's going to keep him on the maybe let's wait for next year for him. I honestly believe that'll be the difference.
Oh, this is an interesting thought process too. I don't know if they've ever put him on the ballot before, but Mike Skinner.
Yeah, the inaugural truck champion, and he was always very good in the trucks, and he had a very long tenured career in the trucks. He never won a points cup race, but he did win back-to-back Japan races for the Winston Cup in 97 and 98.
Oh, shoot, that's right.
So, but again, what does that really matter? But no, he was very good in the truck series. He was the first star of the truck series, won the inaugural championship. And again, I would say, obviously Hornaday's the most successful truck champion. I know Kyle Busch has the record now for wins, but him and Hornaday were rivals because they kept beating each other back and forth. So I like the argument for Skinner for sure.
I'm here for it. I love that. But
It
we'll
would
move
have
on.
to be, it would have to be centered on his truck career.
It would. It couldn't be anything else other than that.
Yeah, he did win
Cool.
pole for the Daytona 500 in his rookie year too, 97.
It's valid. I hate. Okay, side tangent. I hate the iOS update with the freaking like. Hold on. What if I do thumbs up? Will it do this for me or no?
Sure. Well,
No, like the heart. Will it not? No.
you're not trying hard
Oh,
enough.
there we
There
go.
you go.
All right, there we
There it
go.
is.
There we go.
See?
I hate that. I hate it so much. It's unnecessary. It ruins meetings. Like if you're having like a serious business meeting or something like that, and you're like,
What are you
yeah,
giving
all
thumbs
good,
up
great
for?
job,
What do you give thumbs up for at a meeting?
great presentation, and then it just, I don't know. I have problems with technology.
We're
As you
turning
all
into
know.
the Bush Series podcast. We're going off the rails.
This is.
Regain control.
Let's regain control. So let's talk about the All-Star format. We're going to talk about it at a high level. Once we get to that weekend, we will truly break it down. I feel like if we break it down now, we're just gonna
Break out your
forget
calculators,
it.
kids.
Yeah, get out your calculators, kids. All-Star format. So let's talk about some differences, at least notice right off the bat. And then when we get closer to the event, we will break it down in further detail. But this is truly a full weekend thing as opposed to last year. So I really do like that you're getting, I think, your money's worth with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday all together, which I think is cool. Pick Crew Challenge Friday. Love that. The other thing too that is very different about this year, the first time since 2017, teams will have a chance to use multiple different tire compounds. A prime tire, which has yellow lettering, is basically the baseline tire that was assessed during the tire test at North Wilkesboro. And then there's an option tire that has red lettering, where basically what INDYCAR, Formula One, whatever, is a slick tire, but made with the same rubber as the wet weather tires, making it a softer tire compound with more grip, etc. And then we obviously have the wet weather tires. If we have like weather and we have to utilize those, we have those. But I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, a little bit, I think, using the All-Star race to try things out.
Yeah, the easiest way to describe the prime tire or the special tire, if you've never watched Formula One and IndyCar, they have the soft tires, which is the red wall, which now I think is green for IndyCar. I think they changed the color of it, but it is extreme grip for a very limited amount of time. You're going to have incredible grip for maybe 3 or 4 laps, and it's immediately going to start wearing. And it will it will wear a lot quicker than the regular tire. So it's a gamble to use it. It's like you want to hope it's only a short stint.
And as we know with North Wilkesboro last season, it really wasn't. It was just basically a green flag the entire way. Any testing with the option tire? Not that I know of personally. Since it's the same rubber as the wet weather tires last year, I'm assuming we don't need to test it, or they have tested already on other tracks.
I bet you they'll use practice for it.
Probably. So, the fresh pavement. Thank you for bringing it up as another thing too. So we don't necessarily know what product we're going to get. I know there's been testing there. They've had truck testing there and etc. But we don't know what we're going to get on race day with like the full field, right? Yeah. So I am excited for the truck race there, though. I thought that was actually pretty decent last year. I know people really weren't huge fans of it, but I liked it. I thought it was a good product overall. I mean, it's North Wilkesboro. You have to remember.
It's a shame, like credit to Larson and Hendrick Motorsports for having a car that just, pardon my French, just kicked ass.
No, you're good.
Absolutely kicked ass. But other than the leader being untouchable, the racing wasn't bad.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Eligibility. I think the one thing that I was like, oh, AJ Allmendinger can race in this. Like that was my first thought process. I was like, all right, cool. So 2023, 2024 NASCAR Cup Series points race winners, past All-Star race winners who compete full-time, and the NASCAR Cup Series champions who compete full-time. So,
and I think that rule would be different if we were on a bigger racetrack.
Exactly.
We don't, because we don't want to have a huge field and people getting lapped immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I like that addition. It's like only full-time. I think that's fine. That's good. We'll go over this more in detail later. I don't want to bore you with the details right now, y'all, because we have other news to talk about. And we have paint schemes to look at that are really important.
And the NFL drafts in 20 minutes.
Oh, seriously? Wow. I was like, what the hell? Yeah.
you know how it is though. It's going to take them like an hour just to get the first pick in.
Oh yeah.
We've got all the time in the world, sister.
We have time. We're good. We're fine.
Let's talk about racing.
Ooh, speaking of tracks, Watkins Glen. Let's go
Hmm.
into that right now. So, Connor Zillich took this picture at Watkins Glen where it's like, what's happening? Well, NASCAR has adjusted the bus stop area of Watkins Glen for driver safety following a mouthpiece data. Particularly, we're looking on your screen, if you see it right now, at mouthpiece data from Kyle Larson. That's terrifying. He said, my mouthpiece data from last year through the bus stop, something needed to be done. What was there before was not safe for the brain. Hopefully this is better. So essentially what is going on here is NASCAR removed the elevated rumble strips that were there and replaced it with a more flat red rumble strip. The pyramid shaped one is another option that they're playing with as well. So NASCAR doesn't have a decision on what they actually want to use, whether it's the flat rumble strip or like the pyramid shaped one that you see on your screen right here. But they'll make a decision following testing at the track in June. But something interesting to keep track of, as you know, I feel like there's a lot of updates happening to the road courses in the NASCAR circuit. From a repave at Sonoma that, I mean, we're not going to rehash that, but did not go over too well. To this, at least enhancing driver safety. So A+. But
And all this does really is keep the cars on the actual racetrack, because they would
track limits.
They would put all four tires completely on that strip, and they would launch themselves into the air. I mean, it's like this much of a gap, but still that car lands, and there's no spring give in those cars. So the driver feels every ounce of that give on the race car. So I think it's a good move. I did really enjoy watching those cars go through that strip, just seeing them launch. And I got a picture when I walked the track, and you can see all the scrapes in the track from all the cars bottoming out after the strip. And I mean, there's hundreds of those scars in that racetrack. So this just keeps the guys in line, eliminates a possible passing zone. But again, it's like it was like this before, and we're just going back to it.
Yep. I'm a fan of it. If Adam Lucas were on the show right now, he'd be singing praises. He's a big fan of track limits, and I think this helps enforce that, in my opinion. Yeah. I know it's the bus stop area is utilized a lot, but I like this.
Like, at least I mean, still, for people that are talking about like, oh, let them go where they want to go to find the grip. I mean, look at outside the carousel. They can still fly off the exit of the carousel. All that's paved now. That ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. So, little quick piece of news. Now, I want you to make this decision for me. I don't know if I want to get into this or not, but do you want to talk about the scoring pylons? I don't know how
I can be quick about it, and it's that's like getting rid of goalposts at a football field.
Okay, I like that.
They're quintessential to the experience. It's like, if you're at a high school game and you don't see the goalposts, you're like, well, where's the game at? You want that scoring pylon there. I know for me, when I'm at the track working on the inside, I mean, there's not monitors all over the track. So I have to go to a specific spot to see the actual screens where I'm at. I can look behind me and I can see the car. Like, I'll use Phoenix for an example. I was at Phoenix this year. I could see turns 3 and 4 to the line. That was it. That was the only part of the track I could see. And I was watching Christopher Bell and was watching his race line as he was leading. And I would watch him go by. And then I look at this around the rest of the track if they show him.
Yep.
But if I wanted to know where Joey was, I'd have to go to the pylon. And the pylon was always there, was always telling me where they were. But
it's always been there for me.
The point is that screen was only in one spot.
Yep.
So if I was anywhere else on the racetrack, if I moved 7 stalls down, I couldn't see that screen. So but that pylon is always there, and you can always see the positions on that pylon. And like Kevin Harvick said, it's a tradition. When you leave after winning, you're walking out of a dead silent racetrack, and the only thing lit up is that pylon with your number at the top. Just a friendly reminder, you won the race. And look at everybody you beat below you. So I love them. They're part of the sport. don't get why they're taking them down.
A lot of it is.
I think Talladega's was just a refurbishment, and they're putting a new one up. I think, but I could be wrong. But I don't know.
Because what I know, so Talladega, the pylon that shows the leaderboard during NASCAR race was removed at Talladega along with several other racetracks. It was outdated structure that only displayed roughly 10 drivers' card numbers.
So yeah, most of them. So yeah, most of them only show the top 10 for the entirety of the race. The bottom would be maybe four spots, and they would rotate those positions throughout. But you could always see the top 10.
According to the Charlotte Observer, it was an outdated structure. At Talladega in particular, it had needed repairs over the years. Some parts weren't even available to be purchased anymore. A NASCAR official explained to the Observer. A recent NASCAR has been encouraging fans to look at the big screens that it added following a recent $50 million renovation project in replacement of a scoring pylon. So I get it. I think my issue with the screens, especially, I mean, you can probably relate to this too. They only show like 5 positions at a time, and they're not good at updating those. Like it'll only be like the top 5 for most of the time, or it's just like, so that's my thing with the screens. And then with the pylons too, even the drivers like Carson Hocevar is like, I rely on this to know where I am on track with my competitors. And the fans in the stands too, and I'm going to speak from the fan perspective, the track Wi-Fi, though it's gotten better over the years, it's still not reliable. When I was there for Bristol, I could not access the app on my phone because it would not load. So, and granted, Bristol had the pylon, so that's fine. But like, let's say we're at a track where we don't have one, and you have access to the screen, that's fine. But like, where's my favorite? Let's say Corey LaJoie's my favorite driver. I don't think he's going to be at the top 10 at Bristol, typically, you know. So like, where's Corey LaJoie? He's probably going to be back in
like Bristol. It's easy to lose where they're at in terms of position.
Exactly. Because of all the lap traffic.
Yeah.
So that's why, for me, it's so important to have something reliable. My issue is not necessarily that the pylons are going away. I mean, I hate that, and I think they're a staple as well. My issue is that the options that we have right now are not totally reliable and don't give us the big picture like the pylon did. And the solution that we have that relies on the track Wi-Fi is not reliable for the fans. You're asking fans to look at your phones. To refute that argument, though, fans look at their phones anyways to take video. So or take photos. You know what I mean? So that argument is valid, yes, but also not valid. But my whole thing is, if we're going to remove the pylons and encourage our fans to look at the app, have solid Wi-Fi as a backup. I also know, like, if fans get there and they realize the pylon's not there, they can't really buy a radio because you have to, most likely for racing electronics, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to like pre-order them ahead of time, then pick them up at the track.
Yeah.
So you can't just get a radio just to like hear the broadcast. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we are taking things down because obviously things are out of date, and I understand that 100%. But the solutions that we have in place aren't strong enough yet. So that's where my concern comes in.
Yeah.
I've said my piece. So, anywho. Oh, are you there? You're there. You're good. You're good. You're fine. It's okay. We glitched.
But,
you're okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's a mess, the whole situation. But
my whole thing is like, I know drivers are upset about it, and not only just because of a like nostalgic or like it's a culture thing for motorsports, but it's also like logistically and informationally. It's very informationally, sure, I'm going to use that word if it is a word. It's crucial. So we're just making up words here. It's fine. It's cool.
Informative.
But no, informative. There we go. Thank you. See,
you're welcome.
I struggle with words sometimes.
The one thing the screens have that really hurts the pylon. That's
exactly.
The one
that's the thing, though.
That's the killer, I think, is the because
so there are pros and cons to each.
I've caught myself, especially at Watkins Glen last year when Danny was second, chasing by. I'd look for the interval. I wasn't looking at a pylon or anything like that. I was looking for that interval to see what the difference was, if you're gaining or losing.
So again, nothing against the screens either.
Yeah.
Like, I think the screens are fine. It's just make sure we're updating them, utilizing them properly, etc. Pros and cons for each, right? So I'm not trying to say NASCAR sucks, the track sucks. Like, no, not at all. It's just, we have like not at all. Obviously, like I wouldn't be in
Doing
sport
it wrong.
but there are some valid concerns from the drivers and fans alike that I feel we need to address.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Anywho, it's time to look at this paint scheme because I'm so excited.
I need therapy. This is your therapy.
This is my therapy.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna sit back. You have the floor.
Oh my god. Okay. So hold on for this. You know what? Stall while hold on. Just stall for a second.
Okay. This was a big mistake for you. So let's talk about the NASCAR Busch Grand National Series, everyone. I think Busch has a great opportunity to come back next year when the Xfinity contract runs out. But,
thanks for stalling. I appreciate that.
Oh,
so
you're welcome.
This is one of my favorite paint schemes of all freaking time. It's gorgeous. It's nostalgic, and I can't get enough of it.
What year is that? Let me see that car again. Hold on.
I don't believe this is not the right year.
Don't tell me if you know what the year.
Oh, he froze. Oh no. We're all gonna sit with this diecast and just look at it. It's gorgeous. I don't know if Dom's gonna recover from that. Oh no. Oh no.
Am I back yet?
Perhaps. He's there.
Okay.
You're back. What year is this?
I don't know what's going on. Can you bring it closer to the camera, please?
Yeah, closer to the camera.
I'm gonna say.
Ooh, really good focus.
That's got to be 99.
You're correct.
Is it 99? Yeah.
I believe you're correct. It's 99.
Okay.
From remembering the box.
It doesn't have the NASCAR 50 logo on it.
Right.
That would have been 98.
So this, I believe this is the first diecast like I bought myself. Like and also I love Terry Labonte as well. I became a Terry Labonte fan after listening to his episode of the Dale Jr. Download. I thought he was the coolest guy. And then I started watching some of his races and I'm like, this guy's awesome. Yes.
Dom Joseph, Griffin Daily News. I thought your favorite paint scheme was the Tony the Tiger one? Or was that just your backup if you couldn't see the Cornflakes car?
Oh yeah, that's my backup if I can't see this.
Gotcha. Okay. Noted.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
No, the Tony the Tiger car though, that's incredible. Hands down, beautiful.
That's gorgeous.
God, any scheme with Kellogg's on it, honestly, is a winner. So when I saw this get unveiled on Race Hub, I about cried. This is next level. I've been waiting for this for years, as everyone else has. And now that this is here, we have the throwback. Terry was there to unveil this as well with Kyle Larson. Like, I'm going to buy so much merchandise, it's going to hurt my freaking wallet. I'm just saying. Like, bravo. Nothing's going to beat this when we do our tier list ranking of the throwback schemes. This is getting its own tier. Nothing can touch this. This is gorgeous. I've said my piece.
I know we're a long ways away from this. But it just like hit me like eventually there's going to be a Logano Home Depot throwback car.
Oh, I don't like that. Ew.
Oh my God. That like hurts me core. Because I will when that car comes out, I will bawl my eyes out. So I can't even imagine what you're feeling seeing this car come back.
No, this was like for me, learning about Terry Labonte and seeing this scheme made me want to learn NASCAR history. Like that's what this is for me. So I love this.
It's a wild looking race car.
It's so bizarre, and that's why I love it. Like it's not the prettiest race car ever. No, I could name so many race cars that are more pretty than this. But it just because of the colors and the nostalgia and everything, like it's gorgeous to me. So
for anyone who watches the Netflix show, I Think You Should Leave, you'll get this reference. It's good because the patterns are so complicated.
Oh my God. Hey, it applies here. This is just like 10 out of 10. Larson throwback scheme, 10 out of 10. I've never gone out of my way to get Larson merchandise. I think I have a hat of his though, which I'm like stoked about. But this is my first time where I'll be like, you know what? I'm gonna buy all the Larson merch I can with this. Like I'm just. You ever see everyone in the comments agrees with me? They think it's gorgeous.
It does. I mean, yeah, it's dead on.
Winner.
And I love that they didn't have the yellow go all the way to the rear tire. They kept it
Yes.
the
So
same
excited.
angle with the 5. So it's like,
Yes.
yeah, it's they home run. Absolute home run.
Yeah. Because I mean, with the numbers pushed forward to, I mean, it's gonna mess with the throwback schemes.
And the
But
big
this
Chevy logo on the hood. Yeah, nailed it.
just they nailed it. They nailed it. So, again, nothing's gonna even come close to this. I'm saying this right now. I do really like Ellie's throwback scheme to Junior. I like that one, but
Yeah.
This is like
This one's good because the number matches.
the number matches, even to like the font of the Hendrick
number.
cars. Like, I am such a huge fan, and obviously, like, this makes sense. Like, Hendrick cars could change the font, but when sponsors go all in on a throwback, like, I love that shit. Cursing, I don't care, but I love it. So this for me, like, yeah, swear jar. This is perfect though. So I kid you not, I saw this and I was tearing up. I was so thrilled with this. So
That's awesome. That's a good
yeah,
looking car.
yeah, it's gorgeous. So enough of that. Any other NASCAR news that you all want to talk about in the comments? We have time for, I think, one more topic before we get into our Dover preview. So I'll give a few seconds for the chat to answer, and if not, then we'll move on. But yeah, when we go into the Darlington race weekend, we will do our tier list like we do every single year. We'll come together as a group. I'll have all the ATYL crew members put their tier list together separately. Then we'll come together and make one that is a combination of everything that we've done. Obviously, we love when you all are in the chat, in the comment section, helping us rank these cars along with us. So yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that's a good.
Oh, the car was silver. Ooh.
Well, while we wait, if there's any other topics, do you like the silver Kellogg's car that they ran?
I do. I was indifferent about it at first because I was like, I don't know, but I think it looks really good. I'm not gonna lie. I like it a lot. That's a diecast I actually really want to get. So
Noted.
yeah. Oh no. These are facts I can't be telling you.
Regular season
Oh, no.
champion predictions.
Oh.
I'm
Well,
gonna say no, I'm gonna say Larson.
Larson?
I think
I'm gonna bring
Larson.
up the point situation again because I mean I think Larson's not a bad guess. I mean, this is obviously the playoff standings, so it won't really give us like the points situation necessarily. I mean, Larson's been the most consistent in my eyes. I see it being Larson or
If not him, Byron.
Byron. Yeah, I think it's gonna go to a Hendrick Motorsports driver. If Hamlin gets it, awesome. But I don't see that happening. Let me look in my email to get like an actual like points situation. Oh wow, I have so many emails. Anyhow, I'll look at that later. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, so because that's gonna take me way too long to look at that, but someone's a professional. Let me look at my email. I just realized how stupid that sounded.
Let me look at my email.
Okay. Hey, everyone else is saying Byron. Oh my god. So we're gonna say Byron. I'm not gonna look at the point standings in my email. I sounded like I'm like 40 at that point. God, awful. Let's see. Oh yeah, SVG, he could be in the All-Star race, but it doesn't look like they're going to field an entry for that. So, there's that. Oh, the Jordan. So we can talk about this, but before we move on, this seems to be that we'll choose that as our last conversation before we go into our preview. But the impact of Michael Jordan on the sport.
Wow.
It happens all the time. The impact of Michael Jordan being able to see Tyler Reddick get that win. I mean, you see people outside the motorsports world.
In the Air Jordan car too.
Yes, like that's such a huge, and then holding Reddick's son Bo, like I don't even know if he understands, like that's the guy. Michael Jordan is the guy. Like that's insane to me. So no, it's cool to see him at the track.
What's awesome about it for people that don't know basketball that well, Magic Johnson tweeted to congratulate him, and Magic Johnson is he is
the best
up there on the upper echelon of basketball superiority. He's at the table, so that's a huge deal because he has incredible pull globally. So that's just even more eyes getting on NASCAR.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
the other comments here. Oh, Truex, maybe regular season champ. Landon has that prediction. Byron. Got a good feeling about MTJ, Bowman, and Ross Chastain this weekend for the stats. So let's get into the stats. Let's take a look at those. I like my slides, you guys. I have to show the slides before we talk about it. This is just a me thing. It's who I am.
Let's look at your slides.
Let's look at the slides. Dallas
Oh,
projected top 10 for Dover. And we have all updated paint
presented
schemes.
by no one.
Yeah, presented by no one. Sponsor us, you guys. You never know.
Unsullied by sponsorship.
All right. So, looks like, good chance for MTJ, Bowman, and Ross Chastain. I see one of those drivers on this list.
So
go for it.
I should put an asterisk next to Martin Truex Jr. He will only win this race if they run on Monday.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Right. Also, before we get into this,
yeah, go ahead.
Tell everybody again how you got these numbers, just so we can preface it. I think it's a good idea for you to do that. Sorry.
The good news about Dover is that they only go there once a year, so I can pull each driver's career stats entirely at Dover Motor Speedway, rather than, let's just say, last week at Talladega, I only pulled their stats from their spring race starts, rather than complete starts at Talladega. So these are all of their starts put into their statistics. And so what I do is I take everybody's average start. We'll just stick with one. I do this with all of them. But I take everybody's average start and rank them against each other, and that gives them their position. So Kyle Larson had the best average start of everybody in the field at 7.9. So he had the number one spot average start. And I do that for average start, finish, best starting position, best finishing position, amount of wins, poles, laps led, most laps led, laps completed, and DNFs. And I put all of those rankings together. That gives me an average, and then we have our rankings. So this isn't what the top 10 fully is going to be. These are the 10 most likely statistically drivers to win the race. And the stats say Kyle Larson, and I think looking at the numbers here, what helps Larson is he has no DNFs, and he has the best average start and average finish. But looking at the numbers, there is one guy who, especially the way he's been running recently, that I would put all of my money on for this weekend. And he's in 6th position. I think Chase Elliott should be the heaviest favorite to win this race. Other than two, and this is his whole career at Dover. Other than 2 DNFs, he has only 2 other finishes outside the top 5. So, he's won here twice, 2018 and 2022. It is good.
Very good at Dover.
I would put a lot of attention on that 9 car. I think he's going to be spectacular. It would be cool to see that alternate Napa scheme go to victory lane. But the stats say Larson, but a very close attention to my guess would be those 2 DNFs, because that hurt a lot of these drivers. Because while I do rank the pros of every stat, I rank against them on DNFs. So the more DNFs you have, the lower on the list you are. So that's the one thing that hurt Chase here. Larson's 0 DNFs really helps them. The one thing that benefits Truex here, other than being a 4-time winner at Dover, is the fact that he has the most laps completed at Dover. And that just comes with experience, been racing there since 2005, 2006. Kyle Busch, again, we have the same discussion every week. He was very good there when he drove for Gibbs. But here, the good news for Kyle Busch is he started on pole last year in an RCR car. So he can do it. They've had the speed there before. So
you should be his hype man for this weekend.
Being 3rd is justified for Rowdy Busch. Denny has always been hit or miss at Dover. He's only got 1 win there back in 2020. But I can still remember, I think he's got 4 pole positions at Dover, and that's what's really helped him is he shows up to the track Yeah, Hamlin's a good pick for this weekend. I think the 11 car can do it, and they just miss it on race pace.
Yep.
So the way JGR's running this year, though, keep an eye on that 11 car, especially just
I
keep
do
an eye
want to
on
point out
Denny and
too, this is an alternative Mavis tire scheme, FYI. New paint scheme for
yes,
this
rather
one.
than Mavis tires and brakes, it's just Mavis tire this weekend.
Yep.
If you were wondering what the difference was. Brad Keselowski won at Dover in 2012 en route to his
Don't give me
championship.
hope.
Keselowski won that in the chase of 2012 en route to the title. Let me pull his numbers up really quickly. He's our 5th position driver. So Brad has an average start of 11.2, average finish of 12.9 with 2 poles and a win. 411 laps led total, but he's never led the most laps at Dover. And he is just under 10,000 laps run at the Speedway. He will not get to 10,000 this weekend, though. And he has 1 DNF. So again, the amount of just having a DNF hurt you this weekend. But no, I think Brad is a safe pick to have a good finish. Again, I'm not trusting a Ford Performance car until they actually
Correct.
pull into victory lane. But the way
Mhm.
Brad Keselowski's been running all year, spectacular.
I mean,
Just
the
keep an
past
eye
few
on him.
weeks, he's had top 5, top 10 finishes, and it's just a matter of time for Brad. I don't feel like he's done winning in his Cup Series career. I really don't. It's
No,
just a matter of everything clicking all together, and
yeah.
that just hasn't happened yet for him. They don't have the speed yet. I think if they had the speed, Dom, like you said, I think Brad Keselowski would easily be in victory lane at this point, but they don't have it yet.
The case for William Byron is the fact that he did lead the most laps once in his career at Dover, and he's got over 200 laps led total. He's finished 4th 3 times. That's his best finish at Dover. That's the one thing that's helping him, but he hasn't punched his ticket to victory lane yet. Of the 4 Hendrick drivers, I would say he is arguably 3rd on that list. I just think Larson being Larson right now, and Chase's numbers at Dover just scream
Right.
good finish. I would put him number 3 on the team, and I know Bowman's won there before, but show me what you got, and then I'll believe in you.
Oh
Speaking
my
of that, speaking of that, Joey Logano, it's generous that the stats have him 8th on this list.
I was
Because
gonna say
other than winning 4 consecutive nationwide races at Dover in 2012 and 2013, he has done nothing in a
nothing
Cup
in
car at
Cup.
Dover. Absolutely nothing. Average start of 13.6, average finish 14.5. His best starting spot is 3rd. His best finish is 3rd 3 times. He has only led 41 laps in 10,000 laps completed, and he has 2 DNFs. So it's just the numbers helped compared to the competition, but yeah, I do not bet on that 22 car this weekend, and that's
Don't.
coming from a Joey fan. Don't trust the 22 at all. I think the same could be said for Austin Dillon, if we're being honest here.
So why is he in the top 10 then? What
So,
stats put him in there?
so yeah, looking now, his average start and average finish are about equal at 19th. His best start is 6th. His best finish is 7th, 49 laps led. The one thing that's going to help him is the fact he's run over 7,000 laps with no DNFs. That is the one big
That'll help.
benefactor for Austin Dillon, is that he will complete the race for that 3 car, which again, with a track that is as unforgiving as Dover, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
So credit where it's due. Credit
positive.
where it's, I mean, for the amount of starts he's had at Dover, he's been racing there since 2014, and to have no DNFs. This is also a track they used to race at twice a year until 2021. So that's very impressive for him. And then Christopher Bell is just getting in to the conversation in 10th at 14.4 average start. 16th is his average finish. No poles, no wins. Best finish of 4th. He's only led 1 lap in his career at Dover.
Oh,
Um,
better than none, I guess.
yeah, and no DNFs for him as well. So that really, the one thing that really hampered a lot of people here's DNFs. Looking at who has the most, it would be Kyle. No, so Kyle has 7. Kyle Busch has 7. But the fact that he has 4 wins really helps him. Michael McDowell has 9 DNFs, and he is 26th. Let me just confirm that he's got. No, he has 3 wins. Kyle Busch has 3 wins. 10, 08, 10, and 17.
I will say, talking about Michael McDowell, obviously a heartbreaker for him last weekend. I don't expect him or Gilliland to finish in the top 10 this weekend, but I am constantly impressed by Gilliland and McDowell on how they performed this season, given that the dark horse hasn't been up to par of where they've been. I did want to say this is the first week where I'm not going to ask you where Chris Buescher is on this list at all.
Would you like to know where Chris Buescher is on the list, Taylor? He is.
Oh God, we're gonna know anyways. Because I feel like we ask about him every week.
He's 14.
Okay.
With a pole position to his name.
That's right. Okay. What year was that again?
2022.
22. Okay. That was recent. Okay.
Average start of 17 matches his car number, but his average finish is 20.2. So that drops off a little bit with a pole. Best finish is 8th.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think the one driver that everyone wants to know about here, including Matt Deason, hey Matt, is the 48.
12th.
Where do we have Alex Bowman on this list?
12th. Yeah, the 2021 winner. If I'm being honest and putting all of my antics aside, it is the fact it was his previous starts before he got to Hendrick, and he wasn't in good equipment that really hurts his numbers.
That's fair.
It's not fair. I'd like to not count that against him, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I did that. So
right.
Ross Chastain has to deal with the same stuff with what he drove before he got to Trackhouse.
Right.
I agree, Ben.
Ben. Ben just roasted. Ben on Twitter totally roasted Alex Bowman in the comments. But I think this will be a good weekend for him. I think he's been doing better this year. Again, last year was a what-if year. We talk about this all the time, so I'm not going to go into it. But what-if year for Alex Bowman, had career best stats and then injury. This year, it's been kind of some growing pains for that 4018, but I think they finally found some consistency. I'm not even counting.
They're getting better for sure. And I think that's just
they're getting
Hendrick
better.
Hendrick Motorsports as a whole is just kicking butt this year. Them and JGR are the most complete teams in NASCAR right now, without question.
100%.
Where you've got the full team is up there and relevant.
Now, question: did you end up crunching the numbers for Jimmy Johnson by chance, or did you only go with full-time driver?
No, I did not. But so yeah, because Jimmy Johnson's not full-time, I only do the full-time chartered guys that are running for the championship. So the 16 car and the 15 car, I don't touch either. I know they're chartered, but I don't touch them because they're not racing for points. But I will say Jimmy Johnson is the all-time wins leader at Dover Motor Speedway. He's got, I want to say 11 wins there. So, and I mean, to put it blunt, his rookie year, he swept the Dover races in 2002. And he got his 10th win there. He got his 10th win there in 2015, and then add another one in 2017, his last win of his career in 2017 Dover. But
it's just my thing about him this weekend, though. I do too. And my thing about this weekend, he talked about, Denny Hamlin actually did a really good analysis of what Jimmy was talking about when he said he was struggling with this car because of how his driving style is. It doesn't suit his driving style. Is with the track that he's been so dominant at in Gen's past. I feel he's going to really struggle in the Gen 7 car here. And I hate that. I hate it. Because I know Matt in particular, Matt really wants to see Jimmy do well and not wreck out or anything. But
the sad truth is, if you want to see a competitive Jimmy Johnson, he has to be in the Xfinity car, not because
that's fair.
Not because he would be equal with the competition. It's because it drives the way he wants the car to drive. Yep. So it's not that like, oh, well, I can keep up with Allgaier or I can keep up with Brandon Jones. No, it's because
it's the driving style.
That's the car he's accustomed to. The Xfinity car drives like the Cup cars.
I'd love to see him have a shot in an Xfinity car, honestly. Like I feel like we need to see him perform better to like repair our breaking hearts. My opinion. But this is okay. Here's another thing too. We get into this conversation all the time. Is Bowman on the hot seat? We can address this lightly before we wrap things up. But yeah, I think he is. But then Ben brings up a point: is who would you replace him with, right?
So
Like,
the thing
but then
is,
we also know
it's so the thing is the reason why Bowman is very protected is because he has a excellent relationship with Ally.
yes,
So that alone protects him.
and his contract
But
is through 2026, so he's not going anywhere until that point. If
I think
he does, but
when Raja goes to either Xfinity or wins the truck championship, Bowman's going to start looking in his rearview mirror.
yep, I agree.
Because
I mean, with
I think
INDYCAR.com,
Raja's in line for a Hendrick car.
yeah, yeah, because
Which
with their backing
that
of Raja, I mean,
that I'm
it's
excited
inevitable.
about.
Me too. Me too. I mean, I'm excited with what Raja's done this year. I mean, first off, getting that win, finally getting like that pressure off of his shoulders. I think he's been able to
Yeah.
perform better. I mean, it's always even with Chase Elliott, when we were waiting for him to get his first win, it was just a matter of it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And just the pain of just seeing him be so close and then so far. And with Raja, he finally has that win and he's able to be a contender every single week, and he typically is. But I'm excited to see him move through the top series of the sport, go to Xfinity and then Cup, hopefully. And but yeah, I do agree with you. When Raja, once he moves up the ranks, I think Bowman's going to get a little bit more antsy.
Speaking of Chase, adding even more reason to bet on Chase this weekend.
Do it.
What he did at Texas, he broke a long winless streak where it was we've been waiting. We know that win is there. Just go get it. And he finally got it at Texas.
Yep.
He got his first career Cup win at Watkins Glen in 2018. And that was a long awaited victory where he had come close a lot of times.
I was so mad I missed that win.
Martinsville 2017. Sorry, Chase fans, but
yeah, that hurt.
You can't break Check Denny. I'm sorry.
No.
Anyways.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, right in the feels. Anyways, no. But what I'm saying is he got his first career win in 2018 at Watkins Glen. His second win that year was Dover.
Yeah.
Are we on track for another long drought ended with a win, and the second win is Dover?
I mean, the stats line up so well for Chase Elliott. And I even mentioned this with this.
That's true. Yeah, he fenced him. He fenced him pretty good.
But I mean, the stats line up for Chase Elliott this weekend. I even mentioned 2 episodes ago when Chase Elliott won at Texas. Like his most successful seasons happens when he wins earlier in the year. His championship year, his first race win came on race. I think it was race 8, I think, of the season, and then he was able to rack off wins at that point. Obviously, he gets most of his wins during the playoffs, and when that happens around that time of the year. And then 2022 was another pretty good year for him. You know, he got his first win on race 11, still like early-ish enough in the year, but still. I think this is a good rebound year for him. I see him being a good factor at Dover. And for all the Chase Elliott fans out there, I'm sure you guys are dying to get a different diecast, a race win diecast. So maybe an alternative scheme with Napa on it, I think would do just fine. So
no doubt.
You never know. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Chase Elliott, for me, I think I sent my race picks to Adam already, but he was at the top of my list, at least that I wrote out. So hopefully I get him. Fingers crossed.
He's 6th on my stat sheet, but man, I would, if it was up to just sheer opinion, I'd have him number 1.
Number one.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, everyone. Well, that's been our live show. We have so much content out on the Toby Christie.com YouTube channel. Interviews with Legacy Motor Club pit crew members of the 42. We have interviews with Anthony Alfredo that are out on fun content. I have a whole diecast video I have to do with all the new diecasts that I have. So be on the lookout for that. Shorts, everything in between. But of course, you can find this all at TobyChristie.com and Toby Christie.com on all social media platforms. And of course, go to AboveTheYellowLine.com to learn more about us, what we do. Get your Above the Yellow Line merchandise. Let me see this hat. This hat right here. available on the store. So make sure to get that. We had, again, a few more orders this week. So awesome to see you all wanting to represent. Also, some really cool t-shirts. So check that out too. But make sure to find all of us, our socials, etc., on tobychristie.com and abovethelowline.com. And in case you don't know our socials, they're on the screen for you here. And of course, below our pictures on the screen too. But very appreciative of all of you for tuning in to this live stream on this Thursday night. It's been awesome to have so many of you in here from Twitter. We have like 161 of you in here from Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. So, and everyone coming in from Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. Thank you all so much. Good to see some of you guys joining us for the first time too. Hope you guys join us again next week. We will have a special guest next week on the stream. So stay tuned for that. But for myself and Dom Joseph, thank you all so much for tuning in. Have a great race weekend, and we'll